Here we go.
Yes.
Yes. Hello,
Hi,
everyone.
Erin.
Hi,
Hello.
Jennifer.
How
Wonderful
are
to
you?
be here. Doing great. It's always an honor to be with you on these Hanging with Heroes. This our 10th episode. It's
Wow.
crazy. I didn't even
That's a
think
lot
that
of
we would.
talking.
I know. We didn't even think we'd get this off the ground the first one.
No.
But so this is a wonderful celebration of 50 years of the industry. Hero Arts
Yep.
is 50 years old this year. My mother started the company in 1974, really in our bathroom. And who knew that it would grow and continue to thrive all these years? The stamping, the card making, scrapbooking industries have really grown up around and over those decades. So it is wonderful to talk about these things, talk about it with crafty friends. I mean, what a
Yep.
group of crafty friends we've had, and we've got a wonderful friend to join us tonight as well. But let me just say to start, Jennifer, it's always a joy to do this with you.
I'm
So,
excited. I have a bit of a migraine today, so I'm going to do my best. Took a little bit of medicine and hopefully I'll be able to kick it, but I think it's the coming home from vacation blues gave me a little migraine. I don't know.
I get it. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. I hope
That's all right. All is good.
yes, the medication helps. That always helps me. Tylenol is a miracle drug, at least for me, when it comes to that. So,
Yep. Yes, it is. And I'm
yes.
excited about tonight. This will be a fun spin on our conversations.
Right? Yes, absolutely. And we've covered a lot of ground. So,
Yes, we
as a
have.
way as an introduction, before we introduce our guest, who I'm very excited to say is here with us tonight,
Yep.
we've started at the beginning, decade by decade, and talked through really this wonderful industry we're all a part of. Thank you, all of you, for joining us and being a part of this, coming to the Hanging with Heroes, and coming tonight and commenting. We really appreciate you joining us. The questions that you guys have been sharing have been a wonderful part. The comments, of course, helping us build the history. Going 50 years, I mean, we've talked about back in the day when there weren't the products that we have today. There were really
Yeah.
just rubber, woodblock stamps, and cling, just like the background you see behind me. Every episode, I've tried to wear a shirt that would be a good cling background. And to be honest, I'm running out of shirts. But it's been fun, because I've tried to wear a different shirt each time.
Yeah.
And by the way, I really love your dog sweater. That
Thank
thing's great.
you. Team dog. Yeah.
Yeah. But we've had wonderful guests who are, other manufacturers, other stamp companies, influencers, thought leaders, and really kind of worked our way over the decades, building and remembering the wonderful history and community that we've built over the years. Yeah, I mean, this has been a great kind of celebration, I think, not
Sure.
only of Hero Arts, because it is our birthday, but also the birth of the industry and how it's evolved and grown. So thank you all for taking that trip with us. And yeah, I couldn't have done it without you, Jennifer, being
It's been
along here
fun.
because yeah, so much fun.
I think
Uh,
it's good for crafters to get a look inside of the industry more because it just makes it more, really pulls the community feeling together. So I think it's fun.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think we all do this because it's joyous. It
Yep.
really is a form of therapy, and it's about community and giving. And all of that together is just a rare mix that you
Yep.
don't find other places, certainly in the workplace.
No. No. No.
And so I'm thankful every day that I work in this industry, um, and to just get inspired and to see new
Yep.
stuff and really feel like every day, even though we all get older every day, I just feel younger every time I see a new idea that you've done on a video, Jennifer, or a new live or a new product release from a competitor. It doesn't matter. It's such a wonderful, innovative, and creative industry that I think that has built the 50 years and really built a strong foundation for these 50 years to be successful and to be energizing every day.
I
So,
agree. I think it's fun. And I'm excited about today's talk because I've
me too.
known this person for a very long time. Not very well, but I've known her for a long time, and it's been fun seeing all the things she's done over the years. So I can't wait to learn more.
Great. Let me just turn my phone off. It's making noise.
Oh.
Forgot to silence it.
So do you want to introduce our guest today?
Sure. Yes. This is one of our crafty friends, another uh, somebody who can bring really additional insight into this industry that we've talked about for over these 10 episodes. Started in the scrapbooking space and really is one of the innovators and luminaries in this space. And so, someone that doesn't really need an introduction, it's the
No.
incomparable Heidi Swapp. Thank you for joining us tonight.
I've never been called a
Hello.
luminary.
It
I
just
like
came to
it.
mind.
I'm gonna write it down somewhere. Forget it.
You need like a
Thank
little
you.
badge on your desk that says it.
Yes,
Luminary. I like that. Yeah, I do like it. And I like lights, so I think it works.
very. Yeah, the very light and bright Heidi Swapp. Could have said that
Well,
too.
I'm super excited to be here. Hello, everyone. Um, I'm so impressed that you guys have had this series going all summer. And, I've caught kind of bits and pieces. It's been really fun for me to see because, I don't know. I haven't been in the industry for 50 years, Aaron. So, but I'm ringing in like 23 years this year. So,
Yay.
I'm I've been around the block.
Yes,
It's a good block, right?
it is a
It's a
good block.
fantastic block. And I will say that I am absolutely delighted where I am on on the trajectory of where I've come and where I am. Absolutely love where I am right now. So it's a fun, it's just been a fun progression.
That's great. And I mean, you can just see it in what you do whenever I watch your releases or, any time that I see you live. You can feel that. You can feel that you have that energy, you have that joy,
Energy,
you
yep.
bring, yeah, a new creative approach to things, an inquisitive approach to things. And so that really shines through. So
Thank you.
watching you work, I think, is joyous, and it really adds to this wonderful community and industry. And you can just tell from the comments, people are really excited to have this event, have you here, and talk through all of this. And happy 23 years.
Thank you.
Yeah. So tell us your background, like before you were, the Heidi Swap luminary. Like start us at even high school. Like, what did you think you would become? What did you think you wanted to do? What were your passions? And how did that evolve into uh, kind of your career and what you're doing today?
It is a little bit of an interesting story. Right now, I have a daughter who just graduated from high school,
Mm,
and she has no clue what she wants, and I just remember being in that place and
mm,
literally having zero clue. Um, as I, well, okay, so I wanted to be in medicine. That was what I was interested
Oh.
in. And I love science, and
mm.
I was very future thinking. So, my grandfather, okay, so I'm going to throw my dad under the bus just a little bit, and hopefully, he'll probably watch this because he loves. Uh, so when I was in high school, my dad would always say, you've got to have a skill.
Mm.
And his father, my grandfather, was an artist by trade. That was how he was earning his money. He was an artist for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And as my dad would put it, he didn't feel like he made enough money. He didn't, and it's funny because as I look back at my grandpa was like carving linoleum blocks and screen printing and like making the most elaborate Christmas cards. I mean, unbelievable stuff. One year, like they built a home, and he saved the wood shingles, and then he screen printed on the wood shingles, and that's what he sent out for the Christmas card.
Nice.
Wow.
And so my dad had some resentments according to how my grandfather was. And I was very much encouraged not to take art ever. And I'm not telling you that I was like dying to be an artist. I wasn't. Like, I was like, okay, I won't. But one thing that I did love was handwriting. And so my chemistry teacher, who I really liked, and I was really dialed into like being a woman in science, and they were really pushing women in science. And I have an uncle who has a lab up at the University of Utah. So as a high school student, I worked in the lab because I wanted to have my name on the studies so that I would have that for my, for my applications and, for my
Right.
interviews.
Sure.
And I really wanted to be a heart doctor. I wanted to be a heart surgeon.
Wow.
And so I was approaching it from wellness, and I really, like, at that time there was a lot of this buzz of like preventative medicine, and I was really into that. I was not like, being a mom was not like the thing that I would like. I didn't not think I was going to be a mom, but it wasn't like,
Wasn't the plan.
if somebody would have told me I was going to have 5 kids at that point, that just wasn't really where I was. So anyway, my dad, was like, okay, we're not doing art. But I will say that I took state in pottery. So just in case, I have a coil pot that did really well in state.
Nice. Nice.
So my chemistry teacher, all my chemistry homework was like, I would write the question with one style of handwriting, and then I would like work out the question in a different color, in a different style of handwriting, and then I would write my synopsis in a different style of handwriting in a different color of pen. And he would be like, I'm not really sure what's going on here with your homework. Could you use pencil? And I like had these like gel neon pens that I'm sure like it burned a hole in his retina, but I loved that. That's what would keep me engaged in my homework, was actually the kind of that creative side. So I was really interested in handwriting. So I kind of started going along. My dad is an accountant and had his own practice, and he had me come and work at his office for like, work release during my senior year. And literally, there's nothing I hate worse than accounting. Like, I hate spreadsheets. I hate adding. I hate subtracting. I hate categorizing. I hate paying taxes. I hate figuring out how much I have to pay for taxes. Like, all of it, bad, right? And so as I was going along, and I really thought that I was going to go to medical school, and then I served a mission for my church, and I started trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and it was like, either medical school or I want to be a wedding planner.
That's a big change from.
And of course, my dad was just like, you got to have a skill. You got to have skill.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you guys a secret. It's not a huge secret, but I will tell you that when I got married and my husband and I accepted a job with his husband's company, which moved us out of the country for a little while, I am 12 credits short of my Bachelor of Exercise Science.
Oh,
So I did not finish my bachelor's, even though that was kind of the track I was on.
Yeah.
And once I was married and working in my husband's family business, I was doing the accounting. Thank you very much. So I was really fulfilled at that time in my life. And so my husband and I were working together in his family business and started to start our family. And pretty soon I had like these two little kids. I was no longer working in the office every day. I was doing like my job from home. And the level of miserable that I was is outlandish. I just hated it.
Hmm.
And this is about the time, and actually it's when I just had my first child, and I met Becky Higgins. And I also at that time, like the scrapbook store, there's a scrapbook store in Arizona that I loved, and I had a monthly budget of $30 a month that I was allowed to spend at the scrapbook store. So I would go to the scrapbook store once a month, and Eric would keep the baby, so I'd take the baby with me. And it was just like the thing that I looked forward to all month was to
Aw.
go to the scrapbook store. So on this particular day, I go to the scrapbook store, and right as I'm pulling, it's 30 minutes to the scrapbook store. I'm about to spend my $30, right? And I get there, and I get a phone call, which I shouldn't have answered. And he's like, "Are we out of Are we serious out of diapers?" And I had like the giant box of diapers from Costco in the back of my car, and it was like, oh, okay. I knew we were out of diapers. The diapers in the car. As you can tell, we were on a budget, and so he wasn't gonna like just take the naked baby to buy new diapers. It was like I had to get in the car and go home. And I was livid. And I mean, okay, so I had some projects. I had my album with me, and there was certain pages that I need, like certain colors of cardstock that I needed to finish some projects that I was working on at the time. And so I was like, okay, put them in the bath. I'm going to run in. I'm going to get these 2 or 3 things that I absolutely need, and then I'm going to bust home with the diapers. And inadvertently, I left my album at the scrapbook store.
Oh.
And then I was really frustrated that that I got home and I couldn't even work on my projects because my album was at the scrapbook store. And so I called the scrapbook store and I'm like, look, I left my album. I'm going to come get it in the morning. Don't look at it. Because I was like,
Don't
how
look at it.
embarrassing. If the owner
Yeah.
of the workers look at my scrapbook store, my scrapbook page, I was like horrified. So anyway, about 2 hours later, I got a phone call from Allison Jones, who you may know. And she was the owner of Memory Lane, which is the scrapbook store that, when it was in the little house, by the way. And she's like, will you come be a teacher at my store?
Nice.
And I was like, did you look? I said, don't look.
Wow.
But it was like absolutely a dream. It was absolutely a dream to be invited to come and teach at this store.
It was
And
an
I was
amazing store. Amazing.
amazing store. And this was like when Seven Gypsies was coming out, if anybody
Hmm.
remembers that. Rhonda Solomon was the teacher at the store. Rhonda
Yeah.
was like so inspiring to me.
Yes.
And I just like being invited to be a part of that. It was really exciting. So she asked me if I would teach a handwriting class, and I just was like, I mean, I was just giddy. So
Wow.
that's kind of where it started.
Wow.
Wow.
I
That's a
taught the
great story.
same I taught the same handwriting class for 4 years straight, every Friday night. My
Well,
dog.
everybody in the comments are saying how much they love your handwriting. Somebody even called it epic. You have epic handwriting. So
Oh
Yes.
is
God.
that
And I really loved it. And then um
that's your dog?
I can't feed you. Nobody's nobody's home, and so we're gonna have to put up with the dog wanting. I don't have any dog treats. I have Nerds clusters. I can't give it to the dog. Sorry. Come here. Let me
Right.
show your face. Come here. Come here. Come
Well,
here.
your handwriting is well known in the industry,
This is Dash,
and so it makes sense. I think it's a good connection. Aw, a fourth guest tonight.
and he ate the Nerds clusters anyway. Okay, go away. Anyway, so that was kind of the beginning. The next step was that I wanted a new camera, and there was this contest announced from Creating Keepsakes magazine,
Mm.
and the prize was $500, which
Wow.
was precisely how much the Canon Rebel was at Costco.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I decided to enter the Hall of Fame contest for no. I gotta text my son and say, "Come home."
Get the dog.
Anyway,
What
how
kind of dog is
close?
it?
How close are you? He is. What are you? He's a Boston Terrier. I actually have two Boston Terriers. Only Rocky's a good dog. And
Mm.
Dash, it hits about. I didn't think about this, but it's about this time of night, and he thinks he needs to be fed.
Mm.
And
I
so
get the
this
same
is actually
way.
him asking to be fed.
I get the same way.
Yeah, I'm kind of jealous that I don't have nerds.
I
Yeah.
know.
I think he
We're
just
really
likes
in
my
trouble. We're
sweater.
gonna be really in trouble. He might. He might. Anyway, so I won the I won Hall of Fame,
Wow.
and well, I was one of the winners. There are 25 winners. Is that what it used to be? In 2000 is the year
Mm.
that I won, and it was really an amazing experience because it opened up this opportunity for me to start writing articles for the magazine
Hmm.
and creating like classes, and then I would kind of turn the classes into articles, and it really opened up an opportunity to be involved at that time with Autumn Leaves. If people like, we're really throwing it back. I mean, this
We are.
is before I had Quincy, and Quincy just into 23.
Mm.
Um, and so, I mean, I remember when, like, when Quincy was born, like the birth story scrapbook page was hanging in memory lane for years, you know. And so it's interesting because really people who have followed have seen like my kids be born and our family grow. Our family moved to China, and then just like all of the different collections and products and changes that have gone on.
Yeah. And I think that's such a wonderful part of this industry is that We can look back and remember those wonderful stores and companies like Autumn Leaves, and certainly mourn the ones that have gone. But there's always new directions. There's new stores that have opened up. There's new companies that have come. But the scrapbooking did seem to have a lot of change right around 2010, where a lot of companies went out of business. Maybe there was so many different suppliers. A lot of stores started going out of business because of the rise of Amazon. So it did seem like there was a shakeup. But I would call those the golden years that you were a part of. Those
It was
2000s.
so fun. Yeah, it was
Not,
so
not in
fun. I mean,
yeah.
this is literally before the internet. And so, like, the very first show I was at, it was, I want to say it was 2002 or maybe 2001. And I was there as working for Making Memories at that time. I just got a job being the creative director, being like as part of a creative director's team at Making Memories. And I met Tim. It was Tim's
Yeah.
very first show as well. And at that time, we would set up and we would like cover all the new products with sheets. Okay, I'm gonna have to deal with the dog. So you guys just talk
Sure.
amongst yourselves. I
That's
know that
fine.
this is
We get it. Most of us have pets
he's
and
not gonna
understand how this goes.
Yes. Or kids, which are similar.
Yeah.
Um,
Kids do the same thing. They can be persistent when they're hungry also.
right.
I
Absolutely.
remember when I joined the scrapbook industry, it was a little bit after Heidi, and she was just a powerhouse, just so creative. So creative. I don't remember what year I won Hall of Fame, but it was after her. Same year as Kathy, but I don't remember. That's too long ago.
2000,
I can't remember that stuff.
2004. Was that the year? I remember Kathy bringing it up. I don't recall
Yeah,
exactly the year.
2003, 2004. I don't know. Yeah, but the Making Memories products that she did,
Hmm.
I remember they had these little little metal plates with words on them, and they were like eyelets. So you could, because
Hmm.
eyelets were all the thing.
Yes,
Man,
I remember
I
that too.
the dog tags. I mean, there were so many things for Making Memories, and I just hoarded that stuff.
Yeah,
I
and
wonder
the
where it all is
the
now.
so much money was in advertising, in magazines,
Oh,
because, like Heidi said, the internet wasn't there, so you didn't
right.
have
Yeah.
the community that you can get or the resources that you can find online now.
Right.
Uh, like we were talking with Gina Kay in one of these Hanging with Hero, and she is one of the kind of early YouTubers who really started
Yep.
doing education on
Yep.
YouTube. And that wasn't until about 2004, 5, or even 6 that was even possible in the way that you think of it today.
Yep.
And so when Heidi started and when you both won that Hall of Fame, there was magazines. That's where the inspiration was. That's where you could see Heidi's articles. That's where you could see these contests, were these wonderful magazines, and then in-person events,
Oh
which
yeah.
we haven't even gotten to, which were pretty amazing compared to what they are today. Scrapbooking is still a force today, of course, but back then it felt like it was, like I said, that golden age where there was so much money in advertising and magazines in these events that you could go to. Wow, what a time to be there.
I remember at some of the big craft shows where the store owners could go and buy from the different manufacturers. I remember them like people giving away like cars and stuff. Like there were
Yeah,
big. It was huge. I mean, that's where a lot of the money went because that was advertising. There was no internet, so that would get
true.
the store's attention, and then the magazines would get the customers. It was totally different world.
Yeah, absolutely. And let me just say to all of you joining us, thank you so much. Again, we can see your comments, and we will do our best to try to pick them out here and there while we're talking and respond to you as much as we can. But we really appreciate you joining. Also, remember, we will do giveaways right around the top of the hour. We'll randomly pick people who have made comments for giveaways that we have pledged from scrapbook.com, from Ranger Inc., from Hero Arts. And we've got giveaways from Heidi Swap, which we will tell you about as well. And then finally, there's going to be a announcement of a 24-hour flash sale from Hero Arts, which I'll let you know about. All right, Heidi, let's continue the story. Because so you're writing articles, there's events, there's magazines. You and Jennifer are about to kind of sync up. You've just met Tim. Continue where you remember this kind of creative journey taking you.
I loved working with Making Memories. Making Memories was so amazing. And so that was kind of my very first introduction. So I had been working with Autumn Leaves, and I had the opportunity to it was really amazing to have the opportunity to style the book and do the photography, and never they were
She's glitching. Is she glitching for you too, Erin?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's stuck. Shoot.
and
Yeah, we'll, if you can, maybe try plugging in or closing an app. And Mike's working on it from this end. So while people are talking, Heidi's working on that. Making
sorry,
Memories.
guys. Am I back?
Yeah, no worries. You are. Yeah. Some people are saying that they have the magazines from back then, all of those contest magazines. That's fun. I actually went and acquired some on eBay as well in advance of talking with Heidi. And
Wow.
those are epic. I mean, they are hundreds of pages and so much content. Wow.
They were.
I mean, really inspiring. I mean, like Heidi, you said that, you have, the birth announcement. People have weddings in there. Jennifer had, your son, your wedding. I mean, that's what you could see. And really, people did hang it out there about their whole lives. And that's what scrapbooking was about. It was about sharing personally and really being a part of that. I think Heidi's back. So let's hear how that's going.
Let's hope that I don't know if it's my
Yeah, it's something on your end because Erin and I
Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Can you plug in by any chance? Are you on
I don't know
Wi-Fi?
if I should. If I log out.
Sorry, everyone. Tech stuff happens. We
I don't
practiced.
know what the best thing to do.
We were doing okay for a while.
Yeah.
You could also, I think we can hear you.
I know, it seemed like it was fine.
We can hear you, so you could just keep talking even if it freezes.
If I turn my screen off?
You can keep it on. People understand. Either that or you gotta plug in to the internet.
Yeah, if you can plug in to the broadband, like Ethernet, or you can turn off other applications that might be open. I find that works. I also find Safari is better than Chrome. Sorry for everybody that we're talking the technical side of things.
I can't really go to where I have modem.
Yeah, you could turn
Can
off
you hear
video
me?
and try if just your voice.
If I turn off my Wi-Fi, if I log out, then can I come back in?
Yeah,
You
Should I
can.
turn out? Should I?
the feed is live.
I don't know.
It'll still be there.
You could,
Okay.
or you could just keep talking, and even though it freezes, we can still hear you, I think. It's just the visual that's choppy.
Looks like maybe she's restarting.
Okay.
So do people remember all those companies back then? I see people in the notes saying that they, Autumn Leaves, Basic Gray, all the stores back then.
Oh gosh.
We've talked about this on Hanging with Hera, but there were 6,000 independent stores in 2000 that sold crafting supplies. And I know that because we had an industry trade group. Today, the trade show is called Creativation, but back then it was called CHA, and even other names. So things have evolved because it grew so much back then. Today, there's about 600 stores. And so times have, because the internet's so powerful, and that's why that industry, scrapbooking particularly, was such an exciting part of the magazine culture. And Heidi was a big part, along with a lot of other people who would work with these magazines, go to these events, and tell us if you've been to any of these live events in person back in the day, so that we can all remember together the locations and the sponsorships and the companies who did it, like Making Memories. The CKs, right? Those were the times.
CKUs. Oh my goodness.
I mean, the CKUs were a powerhouse in the industry.
Yep.
All
Can
right.
you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I switched to my phone, so
Looks good.
hopefully this will be better.
It looks great. Thank you. Sorry,
Anyway,
everyone.
it was really fun to work with Making Memories because like we kind of had this unlimited budget. It was really a party until Bridget, who owned and founded Making Memories, sold. And then like these people, they came in, they want to give us budgets and tell us like how much to spend. We were so annoyed.
Accounting again. Come on.
The accounting gets me every time. Um, and so we would travel with and do CKUs, and it was just, I don't know, we had a blast. I traveled all over Australia and down to South
Mm.
Africa and in Canada, just a lot. I just got the opportunity to go to a lot of different places, and it was really, really fun. And I just remember like sitting on the airplane and people would, whoever was sitting next to me was like, "Oh, well, what do you do for a living?" And I would be like, "Well, I'm a scrapbooker." And they'd be like, "What?"
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all
It
right.
never gets easier to explain. It just hasn't.
And so, I absolutely loved it. Around this time, when Making Memories left, I don't know. Can you hear me? Okay.
Hmm.
Okay.
All
Yep.
good.
When Making Memories was bought out, and that kind of changed the scope of how things went, I wasn't as thrilled with the situation. And there became an opportunity for me to create my own signature line with a company called Advantis. And Advantis had never done any consumable products. And I don't know specifically what made the owner of Advantis want to get into scrapbooking. I mean, it's probably like reading an article on it, like a business magazine that said it was the fastest growing business, something
Yeah.
like that. And um, if anybody is here who remembers, one of my hottest products that I started out was these little matchbook that had
Mm.
jewels in them.
Oh yeah.
And the owner of Advantis was like, "What in the actual hell are we selling?" And we're at the show, and we have like outsold our initial order by 4 times. We've taken orders 4 times more orders than we had even in production. And he was like, I'm gonna stop questioning you."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Thank you. Thank you."
There you go.
Thank you.
So we sold a lot of those jewel matchbooks. That was kind of a funny situation.
Mm. I think it was 2011. Making Memories sold out, or changed ownership.
Well,
Um,
this happened. My move over to Advantis was in about 2004.
okay.
Okay.
And so they actually had a few changes even even after me.
Gotcha.
And we had some growing pains trying to figure out how for them to have consumables, how for them to fulfill orders, and it was a dark time. Some of that was rough. And so I was so invested in like the store owners. I was so connected to the scrapbookers, to the people.
Yeah.
And so it was really hard for me when, I mean, I think that the hardest thing for me it has been disappointing or letting down people because there's a product that has my name on it and maybe it
Yeah.
didn't perform exactly right or it didn't ship on time or that kind of stuff, which I have actually never had any control of. And Aaron, you know all about that.
Right. Yeah.
It's true.
And I would take that kind of thing really personally. I mean, for me to tell you, and I know you guys are the same, and probably every one of these creators that have been on, like the level of investment that I have always felt with
Yeah.
every product launch, with every class, with everything, like you just pour your whole heart and soul
Yeah.
into all of it. And I think, Aaron, when you talk about this industry being different, when you talk about these creative, not just the product creators, the makers, when when you as a creative and myself as a product developer, and then not only was I designing the product, I was designing the projects, I was teaching the classes, I was doing the marketing, all this kind of stuff, and then they would sit me in a room with the business guys,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I'm
That's
just
always fun.
That's
like,
like accounting. Yeah.
they just don't understand me,
Yeah.
and that's always kind of been the struggle is when I'm trying to follow my heart. I'm trying to wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm trying to innovate. I'm trying to
Yeah.
push the limit. And they're like, well, is it okay if it's on this flimsy, crappy paper? And I'm like, no,
No, it's
it
not.
has to be this, and it has to be this. You have to have this color matching. And if the paper on the if the color on the paper doesn't match the embellishments, then we can't function.
Yeah.
And anyway, so there'd be a lot of those kinds of conversations. Anyway, so I had been working with Advantis for quite some time, and bless everybody who's ever had to work with me because I'm a true like psychotic creative, and
It's passion. It's called passion.
well, but it borders really closely with psychosis, I think, and I just barely got diagnosed with ADD in March, and but I have had it, you know. Um, And not only was I like incredibly passionate, incredibly picky, trying to always outdo, trying to push the boundaries, trying to think outside the box, but I was also like having a bunch of kids. And then so you add those months that you're pregnant and then the months that you're postpartum, and then I'd just be pregnant again. Like I mean, like it was rough. My last two kids and these and I was working with Advantis when I had my last two kids, and my last two kids are 11 months apart to the day.
Wow.
And let me just try to explain that to you. Like when you are 6 months pregnant and you're holding a 7-month-old child, and
Yeah.
people are like, "Do you know how that happens?" And you're like, "Come here, so I can," like I understand how it happens. And and I was trying to keep up with these deadlines and take care of my kids. And then kind of the most crazy thing happened. And this is in 2007. And in the beginning of 2007, I took on a project that at the time absolutely blew my mind. And
Mm.
I was invited by Stacey Julian to teach a year-long class on big picture scrapbooking. Big
Hmm.
Yeah.
picture class. It was big picture scrapbooking, I think, at the time. And why I would think this was a good idea alone, like unbelievably insane. There was going to be a lesson every single week, and
Mm.
um, so you would log into a class, and it wasn't video. It was like audio classes, and then kind of blog supported type of thing. I started that in January, about the time, I was about 3 months pregnant. I was due. Actually, I'd committed before I was pregnant, and then all of a sudden I was pregnant. I was like, oh gosh. And then in May, before Connor was born, Connor would be born in July, and mind you, I have a 6-month old, and we decided to move to Beijing, China. And the reason why we made that decision was because Eric was opening a factory to build these iron doors that was his business, and they weren't able to get the quality, and he was spending like a week, he was like spending every other week in China. And we just realized, like, I had 4 kids, including this 6-month-old baby who was Capri, and Connor on the way, and we just realized that our family wasn't going to sustain this, and that we needed to move to China. And I mean,
Mm.
for me to even, like, I can't even believe I can't even believe this happened, but it did. In the middle of me teaching this year-long class, and also in the second year of our Creative Escape event, which is one of the live events and I
Yeah.
was teamed up with Basil doing it. Um, and Advanis, I'm sure, like, can you imagine the swear words that they were saying, like, every time they would get an email from me? And we moved to China, and
What year was that again?
it was 2007.
Okay.
So my baby was 6 weeks old,
Oh
and
my gosh.
Capri turned 1 year old.
Mm.
And we landed, mind you, there's 3 other kids. We landed in Beijing with 20 pieces of luggage and my 3 older kids on Heelys, which are those shoes with wheels in them.
Yeah.
And can you imagine what the Chinese people were thinking? Like, what is happening here? And and the plan was to homeschool like idiots.
Oh my gosh.
So this was such an insane time, and yet I kept on I kept on teaching the class. And I had some hard lessons, and I had to reframe, and I was struggling kind of with postpartum, and I was trying to adjust to this country, and it was hard, hard, hard. And
Wow.
at the same time, like, teaching the class and documenting my life and being really vulnerable, um, the class and the scrapbooking, the documenting is what saved me, is what
Mm.
Uh,
gave me that, like, sense of holding the line, because I had to keep
wow.
going. I had to keep um, doing it. Well, so I'm doing it, and it was hard, and bless my kids, and bless all that crazy. Um,
Wow.
but I got used to it. Eric gave me a GPS that spoke English, and that was exciting. I started to, like, take my kids places and explore, and I'll tell you right now, I love I absolutely love that time. I love Beijing. We were there during the Olympics, and so it was like clean this place up, and everybody came and visited us. We had just the best time. Like it was amazing, an incredible experience. Um, and during this time, as I'm working with Advantis, and Advantis is trying to now balance mass box stores with mom and pop
Mm.
shops,
Yep.
and they're telling me we only want to deal with big box stores.
Ugh,
Hmm.
This is devastating news for me.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
Tim had kind of just come online, so Tim works with Advantis with his like the embellishment line, anything, any of those
Right.
little nickety knack, all of his little extra stuff. I believe it's still Advantis.
Yeah.
And I had this opportunity to present to Walmart, which I'm not going to lie, you guys. And I'm sorry if there's anybody that works for Walmart or, you know, literally the not my dream of trying to create something that a Walmart buyer is going to want. Because first of all, they're going to take your design and then they're going to want to put it on thin paper.
we need that thick paper.
Or
Yeah.
like wherever they wanted to cut corners, and I just hate that.
Yeah.
And I know, there's a little bit you have to put up with, whatever. Okay, so here's what happened. That particular year, I went head to head with Martha Stewart Company. And it was like 20 feet of Heidi Swapp and 20 feet of Martha Stewart. And they were trying to make
Wow.
the decision. And basically at that time, it was like, well, Heidi, if you get picked up by Walmart, we're going to continue the brand. And if you don't, we're not going to continue your brand.
Mm.
Man.
Um, and
Wow.
as you may or may not guess, I was aced out by Martha Stewart. Props to the Martha Stewart people, like, and I was pretty devastated. So we were living in China, and this is in 2008. And if anybody can remember what was going on in 2008, it was a housing crash.
Yeah. Tough
And so
economy.
Eric's company was making garage doors and entry doors for really high-end homes. And that whole category kind of dropped off.
Hmm.
And so we came home from China. I didn't have a contract. His business was pretty much flatlined. And while we were, you know, anyway, we kind of came home and had to figure out how to restart.
So how
Mm.
long were you
And
in China?
so we were there for 18 months.
Okay. Wow.
And let me just say that people are really responding to your story. I mean, it really is one of
I can't
endurance and
I can't
fortitude.
see
Oh,
I
can't see
can't
the
see the
comments now
chat
that you
on my
switched.
phone, so
Yeah.
I'll have to
So
trust
people
you.
are, their heart goes out to you. There are people on the chat who took that class, that 52-week class that you did, and
Yeah.
loved it and thought it was epic. And so the story, I mean, it really resonates with me too, because I mean, it just shows that creative people, especially in boardrooms, sometimes are identified as,
It's hard.
you know, the, the broken
Crazy?
parts or
Yeah.
crazy or
Yeah.
eccentric or however you want to do it. And I think it's the opposite way. I think
Oh, wow.
the creative people like you are, innovators and just see the world differently, and certainly not broken. Just the opposite, I think. Innovative and able to take risks like you did. You went to
Yeah.
Beijing. Most people would never be able to
Wow.
do that. Have 5 kids or two of them, babies in diapers when you're doing and taking on all this stuff. And you still stood toe to toe with Martha Stewart. I mean, come on. This is a story of
Well,
success.
oh, I mean, it was kind of devastating.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm sure.
and And like when you're in these relationships, like I loved the people that I worked with at Making Memories. I loved the people that I worked with at Vanis, and they taught me so much because like I mean, I was this girl that, mind you, like zero experience, zero. A lot of the people in scrapbooking industry, it was like we were just literally winging it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
I still am. So let's clarify that. But
Totally.
me
um,
too.
I can remember just Eric and I looking at each other, and we were coming home. He didn't have a job. I didn't have a job, and we
Mm.
needed to short sell our house. And you, I just didn't think we would ever recover.
Yeah,
And and I think that like this is what happens in your life, right? But these are the things that also define you, and they're just part of your story. And I will tell you, there is this incredible sensitivity in that class, that big picture class. We made this calendar, and it was called Year to Remember.
Mm.
I mean, who knew what year that was going to be for me to remember, right? Like it was really epic.
Wow.
Um, so I came home and I didn't know what to do. And we literally had no income. We moved into my parents' house. My parents were going to serve a mission for a church, and they moved everything out of their house, and we moved all of our stuff in. And um, I didn't know what to do, and I didn't have like a company that was backing me. I actually didn't want to have. I didn't. I actually didn't want to be Heidi Swap anymore. Like I was like, okay, that was fun. I don't want to do this anymore. And but I needed to figure out how to earn some money. And okay, so my kids were in this era, and they had this favorite TV show on Nickelodeon called iCarly.
Oh yeah, of course.
And iCarly was about these kids that had a web show. I was obsessed with this idea. I was like, well, I want a web show. And so in this process, I had a couple friends, and so I reached out to Ronna Fair and to Janet Hopkins. Um, and we formed a digital scrapbooking company called House of Three.
Oh
Some people
yeah.
remember it. And
Yeah.
what we were, here's what was interesting about it. And it was so key and so pivotal for for me in my progress, because I didn't know how to design. I didn't know how to use Photoshop. I didn't know how to use brushes. I didn't know how to do anything. But while I was in China, there were people all over the world that couldn't buy my product. So I would design stuff on a PDF. They could download it, print it, and then could make the project. And so this was kind of happening in that big picture class. So what I wanted to have happen with House of Three was that people could download the paper collections, and then I would get on my Wednesday night web show that was on live stream, which was brand new at the time, and we would broadcast a live web show format, and I would create with product that I had printed out from the digital collections that we were selling, and I would show all these different ways that you could use these digital project products. And for a full year, I did a live web show every single week on Wednesday night, and it was absolute chaos. I mean, talk about like the dog needing to be fed and people come to the door, and like just absolute
Yeah.
mayhem, spilling like tattered angels on the carpet during the web, like that kind of stuff. And what I learned is that I could create on the, like I loved creating on the fly. I loved to connect with the audience. I loved to share. And the people loved to see my real life. They loved to see the messes. They loved to see me sweating my brains out. And, like I was totally prepared at that time to create product myself, and and then how to talk live, how to be on video live, which, you know, it's a totally different thing than from an editing standpoint. Like, and I will tell you right now, I would 1,000 times rather jump on a live and do it in real time than make it look perfect through editing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like I think there's so much more juice in there.
Well, and Heidi, let me just say that that shows through. That really does shine through, just like this discussion tonight. I mean, you sharing even that story is courageous, let alone living that those
Yeah.
18 months. It really is an incredible story, and it really is so much of a kind of tribute to your strength and your courage to do all of that. And it showed through on your lives. I think that's why people love to
And just
follow you and
insanity. I
watch.
mean, I think really it's like, I'm not sure. It's
Yeah,
it's like a fine line.
yeah,
We all feel that way, so I
yeah.
think people
And we're
can
not
relate to it.
yeah, nobody's looking for perfection. People are looking for imperfection, which is the perfect part, which somebody said in the comments of watching you create and do your thing. I'm just going to take a quick break. Thank you all for
Yeah.
joining us again. Your great comments. I really appreciate you all. People are sharing the events that they've been to, the magazines they read, remembering you, Heidi, in a lot of them, as well as Jennifer, and those early days of scrapbooking that really did, as of 2008-ish, because the economy took that
Yep.
downturn, really changed. And we'll get to kind of what happened in the 2010s up to today in a minute. Let me just say that we have some giveaways. It's the top of the hour. So thank you all for commenting. We randomly selected from the comments winners for tonight. Hero Arts is giving away two $50 gift certificates celebrating 50 years. And you also will win a $25 gift certificate that you can give to a friend. So congratulations to the winners posted there. Remember to email info@heroarts.com to collect your prize. We also have the scrapbooking.com giveaway. Thank you to them for sponsoring all of these events. They probably didn't know how many they were going to have to sponsor. This is 10 and still counting. So maybe they'll stop at some point. No, I don't think so.
I
And of
love
course,
those
Ranger
people.
Inc. Ranger Inc. as well have given us $50. Of course, Simon and Tim have been on here, but that's not why they do it. They do it just like the rest of us to support each other, to really raise the industry because, and I have to say this because I've said it every time, a rising tide lifts all boats.
You got
I
it.
got it right. Like 5 times I fumbled it.
We
Many
never get it
episodes I
right.
did.
We mess it
And
up most of the
also,
time.
yeah, and even more special than that, Heidi also has a giveaway, which is really exciting. So stop the blur giveaway. There's a link that's going to be shared in the comments that you can click to and join. And that is also going to be a part of this. So thank you, Heidi. And please go click that link and go, get involved there with that giveaway. So that's really exciting. Okay, so
That's awesome. Thanks for that, Heidi. That's awesome.
yes,
Yeah.
let me just say too that we have a special giveaway. I might as well do it now. Every show we do a flash sale, 24 hours, starting right now. Infinity Dies, some of my favorites. It's
Yes.
50% off Infinity Dies for 24 hours only. So you guys are the first ones to know about it. So you will have the opportunity to buy them before others, before they sell out. Only good for 24 hours. 50% off again, celebrating 50 years in this
That's
wonderful
amazing.
industry. Yes. I know Jennifer has mentioned Infinity Dies a number of times as being some of the things that she likes. And we actually have
Oh,
a
yeah.
Hanging with Hero faves list on our store now that includes Jennifer's
Oh, nice.
picks, Tim's picks, Simon.
Good.
Ralph mentioned some specific products like Heroscapes. So
That's
that's all
cool.
there and easy to find if you want to check it out. All right. So were you able to quick
Just
sell your
just one
house?
sec. Eric,
Yeah,
just one sec.
sure. So just remembering the industry back then in 2008, It really was a big change because it seemed like go-go years, like there was
Yeah.
unlimited budgets, there was so much investment. And then come 2008, because of economic realities, a lot of that got held back. And a lot of companies, sadly, didn't make it through that time, like Two Peas in a Bucket, I remember. That was a great website. Archivers, an excellent chain of stores, if anybody had an opportunity to visit it. I mean, come on, those were wonderful stores to visit. I remember going to Mall of America and visiting that
Oh,
store, and
wow.
it was a Friday night. It was Friday night crop night, and it was just insanity. There was like a line out the door to even get into the store.
Yep.
Um, yeah, so let us know anything that you remember of past companies that you miss or stores that you visited in that time. But let's come back, Heidi, to you and kind of so you quick sold your house. You're back from China. You're kind of starting your own direction because iCarly inspired you.
I still love it.
Yeah.
I mean,
So where does it
you
take
didn't
you?
really have we had Instagram at that point, but it wasn't really like it wasn't lives or whatever. And so anyway, at this time, like I mentioned, I was not wanting to be Heidi Swap anymore. I I just wanted to take care of the kids. I was just
Yeah.
burnt out. And to your point, like things were just really different. And so I made the decision that I was going to try to get just like a regular job.
Mm,
At this point, I had never like had a W-2. The way it always worked was that I would like make royalties. And if you know accounting, it's hard to get approved for a house if you don't have a W-2. Anyway, so
sure.
I really wanted, we had moved back to Utah, and I was hoping that we would be able to buy a house. And so I wanted a job. Like I wanted just a regular job. I didn't want to be Heidi Swap. I didn't want the pressure. I didn't want any of that. And so I started interviewing, and I mean, I'm in Utah, right? Which is like the epicenter of scrapbooking. And so I started interviewing. I interviewed at Provo Craft. I interviewed at Close to My Heart. I interviewed. There were several companies that were here. We Are Memory Keepers. I
Yeah.
interviewed at, and of course these are people that I know. Like these were
Mm,
people that I knew. They knew me, and I would kind of go through this interview process, and we would talk back and forth, and I would meet with everybody, and I would get to the very last interview, and this happened three times, and all three times the CEO would say, you're you're just too Heidi Swap.
wow. What does that even mean? Hmm,
What does it mean? I don't
yeah.
like, and I thought, I can design cricket, I can art direct, I can make catalogs, I can
Hmm,
design product that isn't Heidi Swap product, and we would get to this place, and I think they were very right. I don't think that I could have done Provocraft style. I
yeah.
couldn't have done Close to My Heart style.
Yeah.
Hmm,
I couldn't, like, it wasn't like I was a trained graphic artist or a trained art director. I only knew how to be me. I only knew what I liked. And so when we would talk, they would say to me, Heidi, you're Heidi Swap. And I would be like, but I know, but I'm done. I'm not going to do that anymore.
Oh,
And I even remember being just really frustrated,
hmm,
because at that point I kind of thought, like I thought it was a bad thing that I was too Heidi Swapp. And I don't know. It, it was just, I was real grouchy about it.
Yeah.
And to have these CEOs of these big companies, just what they recognized was that I had something that they didn't want me to hide inside another brand. They wanted me to be me, and they didn't want to hold me back from that. And it was, in my mind, I felt like I had failed.
Mm.
Um, and so I just was having a little bit of an identity crisis. But
Yeah.
also, um, my husband was having a hard time finding a job and he needed to go back to school. And I had 5 kids. And I was like, okay, well, I don't know what I'm going to do. So I started working with a few different companies. I started working with Tattered Angels and I started working with Pink Paisley. And Pink Paisley, the owner of Pink Paisley, her name's Rebecca Cross. She said, Heidi, how about if you design? How about if we launch Heidi Swap again under the Pink Paisley umbrella? And we'll back it and we'll rebrand it. And what do you say? And I was kind of like afraid.
Mm.
And but also I needed to support my family.
Yeah.
And I really trusted Rebecca and she was a good hype man. And even good old Tim Holtz, I gotta say, Tim Holtz is one of my best hype men. And even Tim, I remember him, he took me by the head and he goes, "You are freaking Heidi Swap." And, it was hard for me because I didn't want to, because it was just hard. Anyway, so I went off and running with Rebecca and
Mm.
we rebooted the Heidi Swap brand.
Nice.
And it was really awesome. And Rebecca was amazing. And she mentored me and taught me. And it was amazing to see a woman in this role that only men had been in for me. Like men who
Mm.
told me no and told me the paper had to be
Yeah.
thin, crap like that. Like it was so refreshing to have Rebecca believe in me and want me and champion me. And so we did that. We did the Pink Paisley version of that for a couple of years, and then unbeknownst to me, American Crafts wanted to buy Pink Paisley. And I was like, no,
Yeah.
no. I was so afraid of kind of
Hmm.
going back into this world. And
Sure.
and then they agreed to give me a W-2. So that was really nice of them. And I was actually I'd learned enough and I had kind of learned how to protect myself a little bit better and how to negotiate a little bit more. And I entered into an agreement with American Crafts that actually turned out to just really be amazing. And they really, um, I learned so much. They I would have these crazy ideas and they weren't afraid to make it happen. One of those being like the Mink machine, and the other one being like the marquee letters. Like these were really crazy, outlandish, expensive ideas. And I had every resource available to me, and it was really amazing. And I kind of started to, I guess I was believing again. I was feeling good. We were working a lot with mass buyers, and I had really good relationships with the buyers, and they really trusted me. And so it wasn't like I was trying to convince them all the time. They kind of trusted me. Um, and this is where the story kind of takes a turn, like a little bit of a, this is a hard part of my story. So buckle up, trigger warning. 2015 CHA comes, and I'm probably at the highest point in my career in this moment. So 2000, mind you, we came home from China in 2008, and this is 2015,
Hmm.
and I am going to CHA with two end caps in Michael's, Joanne, and Hobby Lobby, which is unheard of.
Hmm.
Mink and Marquis were hitting at the same time, and I couldn't believe it. And I'd been working really hard, but I was also, trying to be a mom. And my oldest was 17, and my youngest was 7. Um, and my second oldest son, Corey, was struggling.
Hmm.
And um, I mean, I don't care what you have going on in your life as a mom. It's hard when your kids are struggling, going through stuff. Um, and I was trying to do all the things. Um, and in July of 2015, my 16-year-old son, Corey, ended his own life.
Hmm.
And it was really interesting to be like, people had seen Corey. They'd seen my family
Yeah.
since he was a little teeny baby, since seen us go to China, seen his sports, seen everything. And this, it was a complete shock to me. I didn't know how to handle it. I didn't know how to say the word suicide. I didn't, I thought I'd been through some hard things. And I didn't know how to show up and talk about happy family scrapbooking stuff.
No, not possible.
Um, the day, the day that Corey passed away was the first day that I had this little marquee, this line of marquee lights hitting at Target. And 2 weeks after that, I had this first huge collaboration with Becky Higgins in Project Life that was happening. And I couldn't care about anything. I couldn't show up. I couldn't believe it. I
Yeah.
couldn't. I was, um, and I'm sorry, everybody. I'm sorry. I certainly am sorry for the people who don't know this about my story. Maybe some of you do. Um, and and I know this is a hard part of the story, but it's an important part of the story too. Because I really wanted to tell a lie. I really wanted to make up something that wasn't horrible, that didn't sound so horrible, that didn't have such a horrible stigma. I didn't want to admit that I had lost a child to suicide. there was a lot. There was a lot, right? And but I did. I told the story, and I was thankful for every single scrapbook page that I had.
Sure.
And I wish that there were 50,000 more. I um the art and the practice and the purpose of scrapbooking became 100 times more important to me.
Mm,
Um, but I was not able to access that little spot in your brain that you go to for creativity for a really long time.
sure.
Um, I'm medicated with work. I would go to work, um, and I tried, but our family was going through it. My marriage,
Yeah.
my everything, and I didn't know what I had done wrong, and I needed to find out.
Yeah. You did
And that
nothing
sounds a
wrong.
little bit dramatic, but that's how, that's kind of how I felt. So,
Yeah.
as of July, it has been 9 years since Corey passed away. Corey would be 25,
Wow.
and you know, I didn't think I would ever come back from that. I
Yeah.
didn't think I would get back on social media. I didn't think I would be able to teach a class. I didn't think I would be able to do anything. And those poor people at American Crafts, you know, it was rough. But I think that it totally changed. Um, I mean, I was passionate about storytelling and I was passionate about documenting. But what I learned is how important it is to tell the whole story. How important it is not to just tell the happy days.
Yeah.
No, you're so right.
It's important to acknowledge the hard, hard things that we go through. And it's important to recognize like the mental health of telling stories, the trauma that is in some of these stories that we don't want to talk about. We don't want to document them, but they are part of our story. They are our story. And
Hmm.
and these hard part of our stories have just as much value as the wonderful parts of our stories, of the highs, of the success parts of our stories. And it changed my perspective slowly. Um, I don't I don't want it to sound like there was any kind of like bouncing back from me because it took a lot of counseling, it took a lot of talking about it. I launched into teaching parents about suicide and talking to schools about suicide and wanting to fix the whole world, And then I wasn't sure. I was like, maybe I shouldn't do scrapbooking anymore. Maybe I should just start a suicide foundation. And I didn't know if I wanted to be, I didn't know if I could be Heidi Swapp anymore. And anyway, the fact is that we heal and that everything that happens, I hate to say it happens for a reason. And I have a hard time saying I'm grateful for it. But I recognize that we're here having a human experience and there's things we can control and things we can't control. And I think, something you said earlier, Erin, you said that this creativity is a little bit of therapy. It's a bit of our therapy. And I think that that's actually just beautiful and important. And we cannot underestimate how much the function of creating from our soul, the function of seeing a plain piece of paper transform into something like
Hmm.
beautiful and impactful that you made with your hands. Like, these are things that connect us to ourselves, to who we are, to what we love, and connect us to maybe the person that we give it to, or the person that inspired it, or the story that is tucked inside it. And those stories, here's the thing that I learned. I'm an incredibly, incredibly competitive person. And I'm driven, and I like to be the best, and I'm a workaholic, and like all those things. If you know the Enneagram, I am a 3 plus plus plus. Like, I I love that. But here's what I learned. I learned that with our strengths, we compete. Like, you compete with your strengths, right? Anything that you're good at, anything that you shine at, you can that's where you compete, right? But you connect with your weakness. You connect with your
Mm.
struggle. You connect with your pain. And as humans, we actually need connection.
Hmm.
We
For
don't
sure.
need the competition. We don't I mean, okay, so I thrive a little bit on competition, yes. But when I actually started talking about the suicide and shared these stories, like, the way people supported me was through their stories of struggle, through their stories of pain, through their stories of suicide in their family, through their stories of s- struggling with suicidal thoughts. This is what healed me. This is what connected me. And if I wouldn't have shared that, I wouldn't have been blessed and strengthened. I think that as we go forward in our lives, whatever it is that we're struggling with, whatever it is, and it's going to be different, it's going to be the whole spectrum. As we share those struggles, we will support, strengthen, and connect with people who need our story, who need our strength through the absolute crap, the absolute hardest stuff. That is what matters. And that changed me. I mean, even like when you watch the Olympics, and this is the example I love to share with people, as you watch the Olympics and you're looking at like Simone Biles be this incredible gymnast and these athletes just operating at the top of their game, if that is all we saw, we would just feel like crap compared to them. We would just be like, oh, and I'm just sitting here on my couch, or whatever, because we would never, like, I would never compete with Simone. I can't even touch my toes, right? Like, but then they come in and they tell her story, right? And they talk about her being in foster care, and they talk about the struggles with mental health in her parent, like, and then you're like, huh. And then you see a different you see something different in that experience, and you connect with Simone instead of feeling like less than. I teach this class every month. I call it Stop the Blur. And I call it memory planning. It's really just daily storytelling. It's capturing your daily stories. And the reason why I want to document daily stories is because, on one day, you might be having a great day. You might have finished a marathon. I don't know. You might have finished a quilt. You might have closed on a house. You might have be in Hawaii. But what about the 6 months leading up to that? What about the 5 years leading up to that? Like every single success in our lives that might feel like this shining moment is being held up by a million things that have gone wrong, by all of these struggles that have gotten us to this point. And so if we only tell the story of this point, what about what it took? This is the story,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
struggle. And so that's what I that's what I love to that's what I love. I love the daily story, the
Yeah.
grind.
Well,
And
Heidi,
so
yeah, hugs to you, air hugs. I mean, I knew, I mean, I've heard that story before about your son, and hearing you tell it, obviously, is so impactful. Your vulnerability and your ability to really share that, um, with such honesty, I think is such a gift to everyone who hears it. In the same way you get from others, them sharing their stories to you being able to really kind of open up and share that in words and through your creations and through your teachings is such a gift to the industry. It is so therapeutic to hear it. I mean, sad and really hard to take. And also, it changes people who hear that story, and it changes you in the process in such positive, wonderful ways because they can connect it to their own lives in places they need healed, places that are badly injured and sad that haven't been processed. So I think you, by sharing it today, really, I, I so appreciate you going there because I know it's very hard.
well,
And your
again, I'm
art
sorry to the
does,
people who didn't expect that.
yeah,
So hopefully, I'm
But
sorry
I
about
think
yeah,
that.
I really respect you sharing the story because mental health stuff is something a lot of us can relate to. I've reached out to you before.
yes,
In being a mother or a parent is something we can all relate to, and well, many of us can relate to. And then the creativity and how that fits into everything. So by you sharing it, you made a lot of people feel less lonely in whatever grief or struggles they've had. And I don't think you can see the comments, but so many people are saying that. And I understand that some people in that situation would hide and want to, stay quiet, but you stepped forward giving such a gift to so many people. So many people. And while I'm listening, you've endured all these things. Going to China and having to figure your way. All these things that you endured. You're such an innovator in how to get through those things, and I see that reflected in your creativity too. You're so innovative in that way. I just appreciate how you really pull it all together and share it with everyone. Because, like you said, this is the community is something that you've liked since day one, and by you sharing, you're building that a lot. So don't apologize for sharing. We appreciate it, and it makes a difference.
it does. And another way to think about it too, just like you said, Heidi, using your words. I mean, if you just have paper and ink and embellishments, those are just things. Even making a card can be beautiful because you pour yourself into it. But then, even taking that next step, you pour your emotion and your love and your heart into those things. And that is such a wonderful gift, not only to yourself, but the people you give it to. And in the same way, I think your story has that same impact. And that's the beauty of our industry. It's about not only doing things for your own self, for your own joy, for your own mental health, for your own anxiety, but then giving that joy and giving that gift to someone else who also might have anxiety and take joy from it and feel therapeutic impacts from that giving. It's all kind of synonymous, and it's our Olympics, using that example. We're doing Olympics in different ways, and some people might be really good at certain parts, and so they're the Simone Biles, but we're all a part of this together in this ecosystem, sharing and giving and creating together. And like you say, it can't be just parts. It can't just be the joyous, happy parts. It has to be the whole
Well,
person.
if we had the opportunity for every single person that's here to sit here and talk about the last 20 years of their life, right? And it would be exactly, I mean, it would be this up and down, this roller coaster of hard things and over, and there does come this point where it's so beautiful to honor our individual stories and our individual journeys, and documenting is one way to honor that story. I think even honoring the love that you have of creativity, the love that you have expressing, the love that you have of colors and stamps and dyes, and the a form of this expression of creativity is to me the truest form of honoring our story and honoring our hearts,
Yeah.
and I think that just like my story, just like me not wanting to share my story because I was afraid of how it would look or sound or whatever, um the when we share, when we express, when we create, and we're able to honor our story, and it gives you so much strength in overcoming and in continuing. And eh, you know I remember I used to be like, I mean, I'm from Utah, and I graduated from high school, and when I went back to my reunion, I didn't want to say that I was a scrapbooker because I thought maybe that would sound like it wasn't cool enough, or something. And then people from my graduating class were like, "You're Heidi Swap," because obviously it's not my same last name, right? And I was like kind of selling myself short by not just owning who I
Mm.
was and what I did and what I do and what I love.
Yeah.
And so I guess what I would like to say to anybody that is listening is to just that your story and your journey and what you have and what you love is beautiful, and it matters, and it deserves to be expressed, and the interests that you have deserve to be explored, and that time and money and energy that you spend creating is absolutely worth the joy that you're able to channel out of yourself into something beautiful. And I think it's just worth the time and worth the energy and worth the money.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. What what an emotional ride this has been. So many people have shared in the comments how much
Oh yeah.
uh, impact this has made on them, how much therapy this feels. People have joked that, crafting is much cheaper than therapy, because
I
it
don't
is
know if
most
it
like,
actually is.
yeah, I don't know if it is either. But
My husband
Let's
would
just
have
go
us.
with it. Let's go with it.
yes,
Okay, good
people have
idea. Good
shared
idea.
their own stories of loss and how difficult it is, and it never leaves you. But talking about it openly and freely, like you've just done, really takes it another step to kind of being able to accept it and make it a part of you. So I think we've all kind of shared that emotional ride together here. And yeah, it's
Thank you.
very touching. Before we close, and we could keep talking forever, bring us up to the present. So, who are you working with? And, HeidiSwap.com. What are you proud of? What are you excited about today in terms of that therapy, that creative journey, and the way that translates into products and things that you're doing today?
A lot of people, we can say whatever. Everybody has kind of a different response to what happened with COVID, right? And
Yeah.
it was an absolute like the best thing because it pushed me to this next level of teaching regular online classes.
Mm.
If any of you remember Studio Calico, when Studio Calico was kind of that first kind of scrapbooking kit, it was run by April Foster,
Yep.
and I knew April really well. She's cute and fun, and
Smart.
she
Super smart.
smart as yeah, and
It's
she
crazy.
loves to talk about accounting. And she kept on talking. Well, she started working with Allie Edwards,
Yeah.
developing like all of Allie's stuff, and she would say to me all the time, come and work with me. It's way funner, and she'd always be trying to entice me. Um, and I finally kind of gave in and realized that I was tired of trying to convince the boardroom. Um, I was tired of the big box knocking off my ideas. I was, just like
Mm.
whatever. And I really only cared about my memory planner. Like that was what I loved. And so I took my whole brand to a direct consumer platform. I'm working with Inked Brands, which is owned by, I mean, April Foster runs it. It's an influencer marketing setup. And so I don't like to call myself an influencer, but whatever the definition is.
Yeah.
And I get to do whatever the heck I want, and nobody tells me no, ever. I do have deadline issues. I have a hard time. I'm working harder than I've ever worked in my whole life. And when I first came over to Ink, they were like, "We want you to design stamps. And I was like, "Yeah, but I don't stamp." And they're like, "Well, but we make stamps." And I just was like, "I don't get that." And I didn't get it. I had only ever stamped with black ink. I only owned black ink. I mean, I could like blend distress to make pretty backgrounds, but I did not own a single die. I wasn't a die cutter. I wasn't an embossing folder or nothing, none of that. And holy crap. Once I like figured out how to stamp, and now I'm like stamp obsessed. It's out of control.
You
It
are.
like
Yeah.
out of control. And here's what I love. I love to get a project and get as many stamp sets on there as possible. If I can use 30 stamp sets on one project, like I am living, right? That's my favorite. And so I like to keep every single stamp current that I've ever designed. And last year I started designing dies. Obsessed. Like what took me so long to figure out how to die? I don't even know what my problem was. And now I'm like, oh my gosh. And my brain just like I love it so much. And so yeah, I'm kind of in so I have a I have HeidiSwap.com, which I by the skin of my teeth, got back. Um, and I design products that are only sold through the website. I don't sell anything wholesale. I don't talk to a single buyer. I have kit subscriptions. We work really hard to make it feasible for global customers to get stuff that they can afford by covering the shipping through subscriptions. And I I love stamping so much. And so I
Right.
call it stamp therapy. And then now I name my stamping class. They're called stamp therapy. And I just got done teaching a class that was the most crazy thing I've ever done, which was a 10-day challenge. And did videos that were like real time videos of my process. There was like 90-minute videos of my, like crazy, crazy, and it pushed me to the brink. Um, but I'm coming back around, and I loved it. So that's
That's
where I
great.
am. I'm just stamping and
Well,
memory
wonderful.
planning,
We're
and
glad
I
you're
love it.
stamping. And a few
Yes.
people asked where you can find Heidi's stuff. I have it in my YouTube description, so there's links to Heidi's website and such there. And a question a few people have asked that I think is very important before we go: are you still on $30 a month budget for crafting
No, now I
supplies?
don't spend
People
any
are
money
very
on. Now I don't spend
concerned.
any money. I get my own product for free,
There you go.
and so my actually the most I spend I think monthly is on like photo paper, on photo
Yeah.
printing. Hey, Con, I'm on a live. No, they're good. Um, because he wants to be on the live. Sorry, Connor just walked in. And so yeah, no, I channel all of my spending to ribbon. I love to buy ribbon. That's my guilty pleasure.
Got it.
No budget.
There are worse things. It's a healthy one.
Wonderful. Yes. Well,
Yeah.
thank
Well,
you,
thanks, you guys.
Heidi, for
That
sharing
was a lot. That
tonight.
was a
Thank
long
you.
story. I don't know
Not at
if
all.
I've ever told the whole story.
I think it's good
Well,
because I was around over those years, but I didn't know parts of
me
it.
too.
And so I'm really glad to hear them.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for listening. You
Yes.
guys are
Well,
awesome.
well, it's wonderful to have you, and thank you so much for your courage and your honesty in sharing this story because yeah, it's inspiring. It really is. It's sad. It also, I think, makes everybody recognize that this is what our industry is about. It's about community and supporting each other. Just like you said that Tim, said, you're freaking Heidi Swap. And I think that is such a wonderful part of kind of the stories of our industry and what hopefully we can all do for each other. This show is kind of part of that. This show is celebrating that. Show is celebrating this industry that really is a rare, rare place. Especially if you
Yeah,
went into
it's a
accounting.
beautiful thing.
You would not get this among accountants. I
She
just
might
don't
have
think
worked.
so.
What Tim was going to be an accountant. They could have been accountants
Yes, true.
together.
Well, and Tim could have been an accountant. Heidi could have been a
You guys,
doctor.
I wouldn't have
Yeah.
been able to do it. It never would have happened.
Yeah, Jennifer could have been an
Maybe
engineer.
wedding planning. Maybe wedding
Maybe,
planning.
I could see
maybe.
that. I could see that.
Yes. That's still
I don't know.
adjacent.
I did my two kids' weddings, and I don't think I'm not built like
Yeah.
that. I'm not built for that.
Yeah.
You found what you were
Okay.
built for.
I
That's
feel
right.
like we could
Damn.
we could talk all night. Thank you
Well,
all
thank you,
for
everyone.
joining tonight. What a
Yes,
wonderful time.
thank
Thank you,
you.
Heidi, for being here. Good night, all.
Thank
Bye bye.
you.